you want to step over?
Fat boy.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. How are you? I'm Rabbi Bellows. It's raining today. Hi. Hi, Rabbi Bellows. This is David. How are you? I don't know if you remember meeting me a few months ago.
I didn't bring my doctor. I don't know people.
That's okay. I'm glad you're here.
We're going to talk to his mom, and she's okay with him just dropping out when he can.
Okay.
The first time.
It makes sense. So, you know, we don't go so much over an hour tonight. We're going to do a couple of special things. It will be a little over, but so
Get it.
And you know, Caitlin Hans is here. I don't know if she's here tonight, but they're often here.
It's great as well for company.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll get to see her here.
I hope so. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Maybe I'll learn
Yeah, but my friend took me. I did talk to her.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
Fancy meeting you here.
No, I probably could be your grandmother. Now I can see that house. Now I am. We shall
Shalom. We will build this world from love. If there's a message we need more than any other in the last few weeks, it's this: that we need more love, more care, more recognition of the other as a human being, worthy of love, worthy of knowing, of seeing. And so we come back to this holy space and again commit ourselves to building the world from love. I, as you know, with Brad Jubileer, our congregation's president, we were not here last Friday night when so many of you joined with hundreds of members of our community to come together in solidarity. You joined with choir members, with other musicians, with people from all over. We had 450 people here, which we didn't even know our building could house that many people. And the group of us that were in Israel with Liz, we sang this song also. We were at Kibbutz Gezer, at a congregation called Birkat Shalom, and even there, even in Israel, a place that is so often surrounded by fear and terror, they still sing this song, "We shall build the world from love." And so, though we were so far away, we were with you in song and in prayer, and our hearts were here. Now, before we go on in the service, I have to publicly express deep gratitude to Belinda. You can applaud. We are so blessed to have someone so filled with spirit and compassion, kindness, and love. So that, you know, here we were in a situation that none of us could have anticipated, and the rabbi and the president were out of town. But the congregation, our leadership, led so ably and nobly by Amy Conley, our vice president, and the spiritual side of what needed to happen led by Cantor Belinda Brennan, we were in better than good hands. We were in the best of hands. And so I wanted to present publicly a gift that I brought back for Belinda from Israel. Just a small token of my gratitude, and this is for you.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Perfect shade of blue.
To match the car, I just saw the jacket. So goodness with the Academy. Oh my gosh. Oh, I do not know what to say.
This is a hand-painted tali made by the community at Yad Kashish, which some of you may be familiar with. It's an organization that means a lifeline for the elderly, and it works. It's an organization that locates and identifies homebound elderly throughout Israel, especially in Jerusalem. And instead of allowing them to, dwell in their loneliness, gives them community, gives them dignity, and teaches them a variety of artistic crafts. So they come together each day, they earn a little bit of a salary, and they create these incredible pieces of art, which many of us, we kind of bought out the entire vision. But this one immediately spoke to me of Belinda. It has music and sheet music and violin on it.
I see. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I needed a new tali.
We're in good health and joy. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll put it on the hour. I'm not going to do it.
Sederim to the lighting and blessing of our Shabbat candles, which you can find on page 120. And I'll remind you, if your prayer book has brackets in the corner, you're going to follow the page number in the brackets, okay? So page 120, and to help us with the lighting and blessing of our Shabbat candles, I'm honored to invite the family of our bat mitzvah gal this weekend. So Craig and Robin Brennan and Aaron Brennan.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Page 138.
Bye.
you don't recognize or know, introduce yourself. Become friends and And now let's turn together to page 144 for the Chassi Kaddish. Page 148.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from another. Adonai Tzidka'o is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv arabim.
with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments, and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God.
Page 157.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe that we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Amen. central prayer of our service, which we, in a way, have been building towards liturgically throughout the whole service up until this point, we have this reading at the top of 165. These words, which are so important right now in our world. When things happen that are scary, that are horrific, that are heartbreaking, we all turn to prayer. Many of us turn to prayer to heal our own hearts, to heal those of others. And yet, so often there's an action that is required as well. That we have to work together to not just pray passively, but to act to make our world better. And so, with extra emphasis tonight, I read these words aloud, that we pray as if everything depended on God, but we must act as if everything depended on each and every one of us. Please rise. Shalom. Good Shabbos again. Bruchim Aba'im. Welcome. Hopefully, over the past 45 minutes that we've been together so far, whatever brokenness you came in with tonight, any sorrow, any sadness, anything that didn't feel like, I don't know, the pieces were fitting right, whether it's because of something going on nationally, something going on in your own life, something going on with you. I hope that so far tonight you've found even just a little bit of respite, even just a little bit of calming to that storm. It's so often one of our goals, one of our hopes in coming together for Shabbat is that the whole rest of the week, things can be chaos, and they often are. Where we're engaged with the mundane, with our work, with sometimes things that are just kind of tedium. But Shabbat is different. Shabbat is meant to be different. What a gift we have in our tradition that we have this day set aside for us to breathe, for us to find some peace. There's a tradition in Judaism that the mystics really embraced, which told us that we are given an extra soul on Shabbat, a neshama yetera. And what an interesting concept. I don't know, does it get a little crowded in there? I don't know, but for Shabbat, can you imagine? You get an extra soul, meaning there's that much more holiness inside of you. There's that much more divinity inside of you that you can access. And part of the sadness we feel at Havdalah on Saturday night is saying goodbye to that extra soul for another week. But how wonderful to take that Shabbat breath in and out. Go ahead, take one with me. To allow ourselves to experience a little bit of that extra sweetness that we get each and every Shabbat. So thank you for allowing your voices to add to the sweetness that we all feel tonight. I have to say that having spent last Shabbat in Jerusalem, it's incredible to be back home. There's a part, when you think of the sadness when Shabbat is over, there's a sadness in leaving Israel. But I know that the memories will never fade, and I know that we'll have opportunities, God willing, together as a congregation again to travel to Israel in the future. If you have any questions about the trip, if you'd like to hear more about things we did, Liz and Brad were both on the trip with us. We had a handful of other congregants as well, and it's hard to convey how special the trip was and how many incredible life-changing encounters we had with individuals. So in coming weeks, we will be telling you more about the trip. We'll advertise in the weekly email that we'll be sharing some of our stories from the trip, but know that right now we are still just processing and enjoying the sweetness of being here. And of course, as I mentioned at the beginning of the service, we also had the very real feeling of brokenheartedness of not being here with you all. And so we recognize that so much pain right now is being felt amongst the Jewish community. We think about the shooting that just happened in California. We think about the fires in Calabasas. There's so much pain. And so our Misha B'Av prayer tonight that we're going to offer in just a moment is not just for our family members and friends, but we need to send these prayers of healing out to everyone suffering right now. It might be ourselves. It might be people we know. It might just be people who we need to just send love to. So we will be sending our prayers for a refuah shlema, a healing of mind and body and spirit to so many tonight. We are especially thinking of Reagan Konecki, John DiNicola, Nancy Schwam, Sam Rosenblum, Miriam Swidler, Simon Alexander Petty, Larry Mancini, Charles Sabat, Debbie Clymer, Leila Phillips, Burl Bellows, Josephine Stricker, Cindy Rashal, David Ben-Meir, Arthur Myers, Iris Clark, Stacy Reed, Betty Pear, Michael Price, Jim Nickel, Nan Krzyzewski, and Susan Furman. Who else are you praying for tonight and sending wishes for a complete and speedy recovery?
Ted Phillips, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Marie Lee.
Misha Berach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, Yimotenu Sarah Rachel Ve'avrachel, Yivarech, Yivarech, Kol Choliadena. And the one who blessed all of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. Bless and heal all those who are suffering, all those who are ill, all those who are injured. We pray, God, that they are able to find and to regain that sense of wholeness, of peacefulness, of healing, and wellness. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim, we praise you, God, who cares about the sick. And let us say together, Amen. Let's turn to page 371 and join in Misha Berach together. And of course, we have people in our lives who have healed, who have recovered from illness, from injury, those who have escaped danger in some way, those who have traveled abroad and come back home safely. And on behalf of all of those in our lives who have experienced these wonderful gifts, we praise you, God, who allows good things to happen in the world around us. And let us say together, Amen. And we have, thank goodness, smachot, simchas, happy occasions to celebrate together as well. Anybody have a birthday, anniversary, something sweet going on in your life that you'd like to share with us? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, my son Eric got engaged last
Awesome. That's great. Is there a date set?
Oh, no. But it was romantic in Central Park in New York.
Oh, wonderful. Mazel tov. Good job.
Good job.
Yes. So your tablet broke, but you still have your Kindle Fire, and so you're going to be okay. Isn't it incredible? What a great approach to life. You know what? Thank you. Yeah. You know, sometimes things go wrong, but we always look on the bright side of life. Yes.
I got a job as an elf.
Oh.
And I was just sitting here and I was hearing the train, and they said if you do anything on the train, you become really quickly very attached to the train. And I was hearing the train go by there. Oh,
So you're part of Polar Express elf.
I'm part of these Santa Special.
Oh, hey.
Sort of the Polar Express Junior.
Well, congrats, enjoy. Bring happiness to others, that's great.
I'm going to be performing with my cabaret troupe on Sunday. We are celebrating, well, we are commemorating the 100th anniversary of the Arms Dance. So we'll be singing in the King's Club down in New London in conjunction with Black Theater. And then later on the same day, we have a second gig, and that's singing at the Jewish Retirement Home in West Hartford. So we'll be singing some more songs for the veterans, and then I get to read the Yiddish.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited.
That's great. You guys bring some of those songs here to us. That's very cool. Very cool. Yiddish sing along. Cool, Jim. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, I'll have to piggyback on that. The choir I'm in the Greater Middletown Chorale is performing on Sunday, Bernstein and Copeland. And, yeah, it's part of the anniversary.
Wow.
So 4 o'clock at the Middletown High School.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Any other simchas going on in your lives? It's okay if things are just kind of quiet and good and calm. Well, tonight we are, of course, on this night, commemorating 2 important parts of our history. First, of course, it is the 80th anniversary of Kristallnacht, of this night of broken glass, a night when we had a different kind of awareness of what was to come. I don't think anyone ever could have guessed how horrific World War II and the Holocaust was going to become, but here was the first real sign that something different was occurring. And so we pause each year to commemorate, to mourn, memorialize Kristallnacht as a warning to ourselves, as a reminder to keep our eyes open, to notice what's going on in the world around us that could serve as an alarm, as a sign that we need to pay attention in a different way. There are many important differences, and I want to say this very clearly. There are many important differences in our world right now in 2018 from what was going on then on the night of Kristallnacht. And it's because it's so easy to say, look at what just happened in Pittsburgh. Is that a similar kind of event? And I have to believe that it's not. As horrible and terrifying as it is, and we're not ignoring it, but I have to believe that the whole world will respond differently if, God forbid, there were more and more anti-Semitic acts and attacks in our world. I have to believe that something like what happened last Friday night when we were surrounded by Christians, Muslims, Jews from our community, that they rallied around us. I have to believe that we would be protected. I have to believe, and I hope you would too, that we will, if we have to, we will respond differently for those types of events to begin to occur more frequently. Kristallnacht was a terrifying night for the communities in Germany. As you may know, there were a number of attacks on Jewish businesses, on Jewish homes. They appeared to be accidental and random, but they actually were quite coordinated by the government. And the local police were told not to respond. They were told not to react to what they were seeing in the Jewish community with these attacks, with these acts of destruction. And another important distinction. Thank God for the first responders in Pittsburgh. Thank God for our local law enforcement, for Angelo, who's here tonight, for all the people who have immediately come to protect us, rather than to ignore what is happening. Another sign of bravery is the profound number of Jewish war veterans and other veterans who remain proud of their service to our country, to the United States of America. Do we have any veterans with us tonight? Thank you. How wonderful. I hope that if you feel comfortable, if you don't mind, taking a moment to share what branch of the armed forces you were in, your theaters of operation, anything you'd like to tell us about your service. Would either of you like to rise, to speak, tell us? It's the two of you. It's great. Please stand up, if you don't mind.
I was
Thank you, Al.
lieutenant in the Army of 1968 71.
Where were you stationed? Where did you serve?
I was in Vietnam with cancer a week ago. I was assigned, I'm supposed to have an assignment to the military advisor with the Vietnamese village. Where were we stationed? Some mountain places in Vietnam. Worked Dix, Fort Polk, Louisiana, Fort Benning, Georgia, Schofield Bear, Hawaii, and back to Fort Bragg, down to Fort Ford.
Wow. Alan, thank you for your service. Thank you. Ray, would you like to tell us about your service?
Yeah, same period, 68 to 70. I was drafted to U.S. Army. Served, fortunately, in Germany, working for the Ashton General. And actually, when this was in Israel, I was visiting my roommate out of California.
Oh, wow.
And you do stay very close to friendly meetings.
Thank you for your service. Is there anyone else? Thank you so much for allowing us to honor you, and thank you tonight, and for the opportunity throughout this weekend to honor our veterans who keep us safe. If I may offer a Veterans Day prayer. Compassionate God, source of mercy, we pay tribute to those who have served our country, to express our gratitude for their courage and selflessness, both those among us today and those of generations past. This nation, built by those born of this soil, and those who have come here from all the corners of the earth, is on a continual journey towards its destiny. May we never let down those who have served in defense of this country. May we uphold the values of freedom, of the inherent dignity of every human being, by our own right conduct, by the kindness and tolerance we show to one another. May we lead the world by example and become, in the words of Isaiah, a light to the nations. Then will the labors and sacrifices of these veterans be honored not in words alone, but by our deeds. Amen. So I find myself pondering this moment in this week's Torah portion, which finds Rebekah pregnant with Jacob and Esau, with the twins, Jacob and Esau. And we learn, following years and years of barrenness, her pregnancy, when she finally becomes pregnant, is so fraught and difficult. It's fraught with violence taking place in her womb. And she cries out to God, if it's going to be like this, why do I exist? And God says to her, there are two nations in your womb, and that they are destined to fight each other. The older will serve the younger, but they will be in conflict forever. And I find myself pondering that tonight, because I'm thinking about, we can look back at Jewish history And we can view it as this lachrymose history. Oh, look, we're the victims again. Look, we've always been persecuted. Look, we've always been attacked. Look at the stories in the Torah. How often are we the victims? Again and again. Are we persecuted? Are we enslaved? Or we can look at our history, and we can look at how many times we've prevailed. How many times have we survived? How many times have we come together to protect each other, to take care of each other, to make the world better, to be a part of making the world better? And so it's so easy to get lost in the despair and even to feel compassion fatigue. I don't know how many of you, even if you don't feel comfortable admitting it, heard about the shooting in California and went, well, another one. How it's become commonplace. I don't want to let that happen. But I want to look instead at the acts of heroism, at the acts of bravery, at all the things individuals do day by day to repair the world. Because that's where the light is, in the midst of the darkness. That's where we have the hope that we will look back on this and see it as a time of darkness, but then see the times that led to the light coming back. And so I wanted to ask, are there any moments you had in the last week, either that you experienced or that you yourself were part of, even little things to repair the world? Does anyone want to share anything? Bring us a little bit of light. Yeah, Marcy.
Joel and I received a piece of mail from neighbors of ours, non-Jewish neighbors, just expressing their heartfelt sympathy for the religion and what happened, and just saying when you're ready to talk or have us over or whatever, you know, it was just so beautiful, and they did come over and we talked with them, and it was just so moving to have these. I mean, they are friends, neighbors. The most beautiful card and, you know, heartfelt love coming from them. It was just wonderful. Oh yeah, a little bit of light, absolutely.
Yeah, Deb.
I received a card from my next door neighbors. Very simple expression, but showing love and support. And as I've said to a number of people, Trinity Lutheran Church, Pastor Brett, is amazing. He dropped flowers. Instead of having their service, which was kind of an upbeat service on Sunday, they all decided, he said, we're not going to do that. And they all spent the time that they would have been in service writing cards to people. And I know many of them are sitting in our library.
So in case you didn't hear, so Marcy was sharing that she received a note from a neighbor, that she and Joel received a note from a neighbor saying, we support you, we're with you, we're here if you need to talk. It's beautiful. And Deb, you received a note from a neighbor, you received an outpouring of love and flowers from Trinity Lutheran Church right near you. And that they, instead of holding a worship service on the Sunday following the attack in Pittsburgh, they wrote a number of notes. That they viewed that as a holy act equal to worship, and that we have a number of the notes here. Anyone else? So more light. Where else are you finding light? Yeah,
I voted.
Hallelujah! Right? Really, that is not insignificant. Here's one of the actions that we can take that has very real results. How many of you saw the local elections where it was a matter of 100 votes that made a difference, 200 votes, right? Every single vote was significant. And so much, the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, which is the advocacy arm of the Reform movement in Washington, they remind us that, you know, in a state like Connecticut, you feel like your vote on a national level is not going to make much of a difference. But they reminded us, and they continue to remind us, that it's the local elections that have so many very real impacts on our day-to-day lives that we really have control over. So thank you. I hope everybody voted. Yeah.
So this isn't a recent experience, but it's an example of how participation in something really large can change something immediate or vice versa. So 52 years ago, I lived, well, more now, 50, whatever years ago. 52 years after World War I, I lived in Madrid, and on November 11th, my classmates were selling poppies. And there were also other school children at the subway stop. When I take the subway to school, selling poppies, and I didn't know why. And it wasn't until I got to school and I asked my classmates, you know, why are you selling poppies? And of course, they told me that it was to raise funds for wounded soldiers from World War I. And this was happening throughout Europe. Of course, Spain was a neutral country. I mean, there were some individuals from Spain that went and joined other countries' infantry units, but there was no Spanish army. And I remarked that it was a really remarkable thing that an entire continent was doing this.
Sure.
And there were a number of kids in my class who were looking at me as the complete outsider, not because I was American, but because I was Jewish. And I was probably the first Jewish kid in a Spanish school in 500 years. I mean, literally, I mean, the law of expulsion had just been repealed the year before. And there were little light bulbs going on. And it really did make a difference in the way my classmates talked with me. I mean, I didn't ask them that, but it's that interplay between big and small that sometimes really changes things.
Thank you. Any other moments of light? I thought Justin Trudeau's official apology for the St. Louis being turned away was beautiful. To acknowledge that, you know, they could have done better. That's a little bit of light. Yeah.
I teach a toddler class at the Community Health Center in Middletown, and I just look around this little UN that I have. It's unbelievable. And I've started introducing kind of more like, you know, I did We're All a Family in the Sky, but I just tried to, you know, look around and see that half the people there are immigrants. They're all different colors from all different countries, and it's just this lovely, beautiful group of human beings and their little babies. And so it gives me hope every week when I look down that, you know, we're singing together and playing together.
Little bits of light.
Little bits of life. Lots of
I pray for us all that when we take the time, which we need to do, to mourn, to grieve, to feel the pain of what's going on in our world, and we also take time to look for, as Mr. Rogers says, look for the helpers, look for those who bring light, and if you're having trouble finding one, be that, be the light. Take action. Pray as if everything depended on God, act as if everything depended on you. Take action to be light, to bring light, to make the world better. We have to. We have to. And maybe these ways and all these other little ways will add up, bring the sparks of divine light back together, and truly repair the world bit by bit. Thank you for sharing these stories. Hopefully they brought a little bit of inspiration to you as well. Yes, a lot of light. A lot of light. The people who came last Friday night. So thank you. Brad, would you like to give some announcements?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you hear it?
Well, if you have it.
I got it.
All right, leading off, tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. is Shabbat service in the Bat Mitzvah here in Glennon. Sunday, 4 o'clock, I guess a lot of things going Sunday afternoon. We have our own art books and bellinis, a Main Street art opening, books and bagels event, and that's going to be very special. Next Thursday, between 4 and 6, Deep River Soup Kitchen and Pantries will be active. Please, if you want to participate, please contact Terry Fogel. Next Friday, we have our Erev Shabbat service at 7:30 p.m. And next Sunday, it's already next Sunday, is our Interfaith Thanksgiving service. And that's going to be at the Trinity Lutheran Church in Centerbrook, usually at 4 p.m. And thank you very much. Tonight's Oneg is being sponsored by the Tabor family in honor of Aaron Brennan's bat mitzvah. So thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Yes, the Interfaith Thanksgiving service, Sunday, November 18th. Our choir is participating. Meg is always a big part of the musical offering in that service. And I think, you know, every year we feel a different inspiration to come together in this way. I think this year we really need this interfaith opportunity to be together, to share gratitude. So thank you so much. And note that the main office will be closed on the Thursday and Friday of Thanksgiving week. Any other announcements or anything? Ellen, do you want to add anything more about Sunday? Please?
Well, it's going to be quite an event because we're putting two different types of events together. We have not only the Main Street Art Gallery opening, but we have books and bagels, which we've amended to books and bleedings to follow the Russian theme, or I should say Eastern European theme, the Ukrainian actually. And in honor of that, we're not only having bleeding, sweet and savory, but also vodka.
I don't have a very good Russian accent. It's going to be really great. Thank you. Let's turn together to our concluding prayers with Aleinu on page 586. Please rise. Page 597, we read responsibly at the top. 597. Yizkor, we remember our people who suffered and died so that we could be free and secure. May their memory be more than a distant shadow, for their dreams left unfulfilled and lives taken too soon, we remember. Remember our brothers and sisters whose sacrifice kept the dream of democracy and justice alive. May their courage be our inspiration and strength. For life cut short and vision unrealized, we remember. Remember the fallen of our armed services, the victims of terror and tragedy. May the darkness of their loss not obscure the light of peace. They were in love with our land and in love with life. For the agony, the tears, the mothers and the fathers, for the children who were and for the children yet to be, we remember. Page 598. If you hear the name of a family member or friend read aloud, and if you are comfortable doing so, you're invited to rise when you hear his or her name, which allows us to recognize your loss, offer you comfort, and then to join with you in reciting the words of the mourner's Kaddish. This Shabbat, we are marking the recent passing of Howard Kleinman, of Tony Regano, of those lives lost in Pittsburgh, in Thousand Oaks, in Calabasas, and too many events around our country. We mark the anniversaries of death, the Yortzites for Rose Barron, Abraham Baskin, April Lee Block, Sam Chayat, Etta Cohn, Jerome Fishbach, Lawrence Gottfried, Charles Gottfried, Benjamin Greenberg, Jack Hyman, Regina Kest, Patricia Konecki, Samuel Ladies, Steve Levinson, Joseph Mager, Sylvia Price, Isidore Rabb, Joy Hellman Resnikoff, Dorothy Rubin, George Saphir, Priscilla Sobrino, Lenore Palmer Tobias, Sylvia White, and Sarah Rothfuss Yosela. Zichronam Livracha. Is anyone else marking a Shiva Shloshim Yortzeit who would like to share a name out loud? May all of their memories always be a precious blessing to those who knew and loved them. Together now we all rise, and we join in the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadal shemei rabbah, v'amad yivrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayekon v'yomechon v'chayet kol beit Yisrael, v'adalah v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah v'varach le'olam olamei almaya, v'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei v'yisha b'richlu, le'elam yimkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shmam rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'yirma, u'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Send me from
conclude this evening with yet one more voice for peace. Lo Yisagoy on page 645. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation.
Shabbat Shalom.
Stop.